Yeah, that was a fun trip. Okay, yeah, no rush, no rush. So in these trainings, we like to balance the physical with the lecture and the intellectual. So this one is trying to get you more in touch with the protocols, with the spiritual side of Lua. And as one of my teachers says, everything starts with Pule. And other teachers mention this too. Whether you do your entry into like going to collect something in the forest or like la'au or do something else, it always starts with some kind of oli or Pule or chant. And oftentimes you're calling upon someone. So for this one, we are calling upon Amakua. And why is that?
With us.
Okay, yeah, they're with us. And do you just call their name and that's it, or?
To respect them.
Okay, to honor them. Okay, uplift them. So ho'omana them. Well, what are the other reasons you ask for Amakua or call upon him?
Protection.
Yeah, protection. You need protection against things that are, the seen and the unseen. Any other things?
Guidance.
Yeah, okay, guidance. Make sure you don't get lost. That you get inspiration for things. So all good things, but you're always kind of asking for things. And in Lua, we have our Amakua and our deities that we call upon too. Yeah, so one of the first ones that as you heard Lloyd Jerry mention is Pakuia Lua. So that is one of the major deities of Lua, like the head deity. It means to strike the second blow. So it's a deity that is ku'iakahi ku'i Lua. So they're gonna strike once, but I'm gonna strike the second blow. So it's a defensive art. You don't go out there and pick fights. In battlefields, that's everything's been established. But when you're out and about, you don't go causing trouble. You don't throw that first blow. You throw the second blow, and when you throw that second blow, you're gonna end it. Okay. They've also been described as a deity that's double-headed and two-fisted, so all-seeing, all-knowing, and ready to act. On the flip side of the coin is another deity, Ku'iaholo. So it's kind of the same deity with a different type of name, a different aspect of Lua fighting. So this one is to strike the rapid blow. Even when you're punching, so I'm kind of going to relate this to the ha'a you just learned is, when you're punching, you don't want to just like leave your hand like this and like that. You want to get some snap into it. Boom, okay? Boom. That's what you want. Because you don't want, if you leave it out there, we're going to grab it, okay? So you want to throw the rapid blow. And then for the spiritual side is, they leave one who doesn't follow the rules, okay? If you don't follow their rules, they're holo. Okay? And these are, the things that we're asking for, respect and self-control. And if we can keep their kapu of the school, they'll give us a strength of 10 men or 10 people. Yeah. It's kind of a mental and spiritual protection too. And if they break it, if you're the aggressor, then they'll leave you. And if you don't have that protection from your deity, especially on a battlefield where sometimes things happen because of luck, your days may be short. So to call upon them and beckon them, we have Pule. Okay, you guys recognize this Pule? Does it look or sound familiar?
We just did.
Yeah, okay, good. Yeah, this is the one you just did. We call it Kekaumauai for short, but the longer and the original name is Hepule na Kuia Lua. So a prayer to Kuia Lua, ikamanava e ao I ikahae, to learn the art of breaking bones. Okay. And in this one, you have all the different kinds of strikes you're saying, to the eyes, up and down, to the throat, hitting the thing. And in this one, it's, we do it as a ha'a, and we're invoking, okay, we're calling. So in Hawaiian prayer, it's different. A lot of times you're saying, please do this, you're asking for things. But when you do pule in the Hawaiian setting, they're there waiting for us to help us when we need, but you got to invoke and call them. So this one where, we address the deity, e kuia lua, and we say, kuia luna, strike them. Okay, not please strike them, strike them. Okay, so that's what we're trying to do with these pule, is invoking and calling. So very direct. Different other amakua associated with lua. For the male aspects, there's ku wahailo, so ku of the maggot mouth. Ku imi helua, the one that's trying to look for and seek the way of lua. For female deity, there's hua, popoki, and kihawahine. And popoki, you might think that sounds like the cat, but anybody know what the real word, why the cat was called popoki second when the word was first?
Because the cat reminded the Hawaiians of the female warriors.
Kind of, or popoki means like a low, like low stance. Okay, you get down low, so it's just showing that the it's stable form. So when they saw the cat fall down and they come back on top of their paws, they catch themselves, the 9 lives, it reminded them of that. So that's what popoki is. But when you call the deity, just know that you have there's not only 4 deity or these ones that are listed here. There's 40,000, 400,000 as they say. So each of you have your own. So you don't always just have to call upon just one. The more you got, that's the more people behind your back. Yeah. So as many Aumakua ancestors that you have, because we all come from lines of warriors. Okay? If you go far back enough, you'll find one. Yeah. And they're there waiting. The one for our specific school is Ku Aha Ilo. So sounds very similar to Waha Ilo, but as we've been taught and seen in some of Alohe Ken's writings, is that this is a different deity that means through whom many lives sprout forth and who plants the seeds of growth. So Ha is that breath, that essence you're sending, and Ilo is to sprout. So you're causing things to grow and I guess progress. And it's also known as being a deity of going over and over, repetition, because that's the only way you're going to learn this. And you'll see it over these next 3 weekends is we're going to just be drilling and drilling, because right now it seems, I can see people's stances are different or things aren't ma'a, but by the end of these 3 weekends, you're going to go through this over and over and you'll be pa'a. Yeah? So that's what we're trying to channel with this deity. And the main couple with this one is just, don't be the unjust aggressor, and, the Ku'aha Ilo will have our back. So we mentioned different kapu, and there's specific ones tied to Lua schools called kapu ihi. So these are the ones from the Aumakua and the Alohe that they set certain restrictions. So, as much as possible, try to run away from trouble if you can. Sometimes you cannot, and that's where you would use your fighting techniques. Okay? Don't hurt anyone without a just cause. There's also certain restrictions regarding diets. Nowadays, not as much in terms of like alcohol use and stuff like that, but back in the day, there are more stricter things regarding diet and all those other kind of things too. Basic things: keep my commandments, I'll keep you. And there's also for safety where we will bring mana to the Alohe and the Aumakua. So we kind of retain that tradition, that sacredness, and use that for protection. And then also back in the day, it was, like we said, it is an art of the chiefs. And, back in the day, if somehow somebody, because that's instant death, okay? But this is an interesting thing where, because you're training chiefs, the Lua schools, part of the kapu'ihi, also protected the Alohe or the instructor in case that ali'i was injured during training. It's something that's wrong with them. Their mana might be low or something. So it's not on the Alohe Lua's fault, all the time. So this also helped to protect the instructor of the school. Other protocols that we follow in our schools is you never show the back to the Alohe. You guys know why? Why don't you turn your back, or if you're even huh? How come? Okay, yeah, potentially, yeah. So just like if you went to your grandma's house and you just walk through the door and you don't even give her a hug or anything, you just walk past, turn your back to her, very disrespectful, okay? Because that's your senior, that's your elder, gave life to you. And same thing with your teachers, they're your teacher, who they brought you into their school, so have that love aspect, but also they know more than you. So if you turn your back and if you disrespected them, they'll bust you up. Yeah, just like grandma. Yeah. Another one is you care for your fellow students. So as we'll be training Lua I later on, you're a class, we're whole, we're fellowship. So just take care of each other. And that was kind of like the role of the Kanaka Kali Kukui, where they were selfless and helping others. Ask for permission, which is what you guys did with the ha'akomo. So everything you kind of do, just ask for permission if you're unsure, and especially when we're entering sacred kapu space. So I don't know if it's been mentioned before, but as we come together, as you do your entry chant, there's something that shifts, because we're calling upon the Aumakua and you're asking permission from the Alohe. So you're entering kapu space, where it's kind of this enclosed space that's restrictive, and all the rules that apply, I don't know how to say it, it protects and it rules that area. And you can kind of also see it by the guards. Okay, so all the guards around us, they're the ones that are setting the boundaries and making sure that nothing that might be Noah or Heva can come into your kapu space and interrupt your learning for these next 3 weekends. Okay, so that's what we're trying to do with, making kapu space to the ha'a, but also protecting it. And also doing that huna na mea huna that we talked about this morning, keeping things secretive. And another important one that'll come up more later on is regarding weapons and food. Okay, so things that do with war, like our mea kawa, our weapons, we never want to eat with them. Okay, so, they might be out in the boundaries and whatnot, but we're not sitting at our table with them and eating it, because things that are of war are kapu, and then things that are for sustenance and life with food, they're more noa, and you don't want to mix the two, because if you mix them, then you kind of introduce noa into that kapu, and now it's a little bit tainted. And even more so, there's things that are haumia. You guys know what haumia is? Okay, so noa is kind of just every day, but there's no restrictions. But haumia is defiled, things that are dirty. So this is regarding the bathroom. So you never take food into the bathroom. You never take your weapons with you into the restroom, because that is haumia. Okay, so you have to have these different levels of protection and structure to keep the sacredness of the art. So just try to keep that in mind as you go about these next 3 weekends and even on. And if you need a reminder, we'll send a gentle reminder. Yeah. Any question about those things? Okay. So before students in the old days were even taught the actual ai, they had to learn certain attitudes and behaviors of lua. Yeah. That should be done outside of the pa. And this is all meant to help control the mind, body, and spirit of the individual. The first one is called kohu, and it means to pretend. So there's a saying where they appear supple, feigning weakness like a feeble cat. Yeah? So how many of you have ever seen this movie? What movie is this? Ip Man, okay? What happened in this scene? Yeah, he asked for 10 guys and he beat them all up. So this is a story, a fictional story of Bruce Lee's teacher, Ip Man, where he's the master of Wing Chun. And in this movie, there's a scene like this where he sees something bad happen to one of his fellow Chinamen, and he's pissed off. So he says, "Give me 10 of your best fighters," and he mops the floor at them, just lays them out. And they're like, "Holy crap." But the funny thing is, during the rest of the movie, he's like this, okay? A very gentle man, doesn't want to get into fights. But this is where, it went over the line and he got too far. But so most of the time, you want to be like that, okay? Because it's how we should be. We should be gentle, we should be kind. And also, if people see guys like this, they're either gonna not want to bother with them, and or if they do bother with them, they can turn this switch on and it'll catch them off guard. Yeah, so you want to try, pretend and feign that weakness, because then you get that element of surprise. Yeah, so for the next one, I need a volunteer. Is there a man? If you want to, yeah. So you can come right here and you can face this way. So just stand regularly, yeah. Okay, so pretend I'm a upai, okay? And I'm looking at you mean. You saw that. Yeah, so pretend like I'm a stranger on the street and you don't know who I am, and I come looking at you. Okay, good. Okay, what's the first thing you did? Hand up, and then you did something else. Okay, step back. Yeah, so that's my point. Yeah, so thanks. So the next part is, it's this term called kapakai. So you know kapakai, lopsided, offsided. Okay, but this is where the other attitude comes into play. Is when there's trouble, you don't want to get you don't want them to get that close, okay? Because if they're bigger, if Mike Tyson came to my face, like if he's right here, like I know I'm in trouble, okay? So you want to not even get to that point. So the first thing you got to do, exactly what Vince did, is you take a step back, okay? You make your body, rather than being straight on, okay, you make your body one-sided and lopsided. So this is something that'll keep coming up in the different eye and self-defense parts, but you blade your stance so that way it creates distance, you're in your fighting stance, And then just in case something happens, your hands are up and you're ready to go. Okay? So you're able to anticipate the attack. So first, just kind of teaching you how to be in everyday life. Every day you're kind of just cruising, happy, go lucky. But then if something happens, then you kind of get your antlers up, or no, not antlers up. What do you call that? Antennas up. Okay? Antlers are up too, but you get your antennas up, okay? And you're ready just in case. Okay? You don't want to have a fist for a couple of reasons. When you have a fist, you can't do as much stuff. Okay, you're limited with all your different tools you can use, as well as nowadays with cell phones and whatnot. If somebody's filming you from afar and you do this, although you're the one on self-defense, you look like you're ready to fight and you're part of the problem. Okay, so keep your hands up, as well as don't feign back, because as soon as you go back, if they're going to throw something or charge you, like you've lost your balance and they're just going to take you out. Okay, so make sure you're balanced and have a good stance. Yeah. And if things do escalate real quickly, that's where you switch it to offensive mode. So you're going to get into your fighting stance, move forward aggressively, and meet the opponent. So in case it goes, then that's where you got to use your body to go forward and not retreat backwards. If you do got to go someplace, go to the sides. Okay? So this is called Keala, where you're awakening and you're advancing. This one, hopefully it doesn't happen, but it's called Loa'a Mai. It's a receiving stance, as they call it. Okay, Loa'a is the receiver catch. And basically it's your Aiha'a stance. Okay, so at least from what I got from the notes and the explanations, but it's erect but relax, and then loose clenched fists. So back in the day, and it kind of embodies lightness of air. So when you're doing your moko moko, you don't want to be tense, okay? At least not all the time. Okay, you want to be, how do you say, a little bit tense, but still light enough to where you can still move around and use your body. And in old stories, anybody know why or I guess one of the reasons why we call it moko moko? What is moko moko? Yeah, face off. Yeah, and where would you face off? Like what kind of event or situation would you face off with? Yeah, a boxing event. Okay, so makahiki times they had the ulumaikas and the running games and all that. But one of it was moko moko, where they would face off and box. So sometimes they would box like this, but there's other stories and journal entries where you guys seen slap fight? Oh, okay, I see the guys laughing. What is slap fight? Yeah, basically, you just got one guy, boom. Then the other, if he's standing, the other guy's there, and boom. Yeah, we had our version. That's what moko moko was, where they would stand in these stances, and they would, rather than a slap, they would use their fists, and they would swing it around, boom. And then they'd take turns. Okay, and for that one, you gotta receive the hit with this stance. Okay, so that's one of the ways they did moko moko, and we do it like that. Okay, so this is the Loa'a Mai. So just in case you gotta take something, then you're light until you got to take that impact and you tense up. Okay? And then lastly, if Mike Tyson were actually coming towards me, I might do this one. Okay, it's called ho'oka'awale, where it's you're distancing to flee a hit. Okay, so basically, the saying is, study to be a warrior is you got to learn how to also run and flee and run away. Okay, so fight again another day. So anybody, sorry, just showing my nerd side. Anybody know what this is? Hey, what is this? Hey, my friend. Okay, what happened in this episode?
Well, that guy is perceived to be their enemy, but really he's saving them from a battle they can't handle. The big guy.
Yeah.
The center of the thing is saving all these littler characters.
Well, they didn't know that yet, but during this battle, what did Luffy say to everybody? He gave one command.
Yeah, that's true.
He said, "Run." Okay. The whole series, all these guys, these pirates, they were like mop everybody. They'd beat everybody, no problem. But they got to this one point in the story, and they were getting mopped by everybody. So the captain had to give a command, and he said, "Run." He didn't say anything. He said, "Run." So everybody ran away. But he also gave another command later on, where he told people get stronger in these 2 years. Rather than meet 3 days later, we're taking off 3 days, and we're gonna meet 2 years from now, and you're gonna get strong in that 2 years. Then we'll keep going. So it's to run, but to fight again another day. Okay, so don't ever have that loser or giving up aspect of mentality. You run away, but you come back stronger. Okay, you train again. So also built in these attitudes is values. Yeah, so we have 3 of them. So first one, kind of like the Straw Hat Pirates in One Piece, is ho'omau. So ho'omau means to continue or persevere. So when things get harder, you get pushed, you push back harder. Okay? And you do that through gaining proficiency through repetition. Okay, so never giving up. So it's not gonna play because I don't got internet, but I had a picture of Nacho Libre. Everybody seen Nacho Libre before? Yeah, one of my favorite movies, because the whole movie, without spoiling it too much, like, he's not the greatest wrestler in the world, but he hopes to be one day, and it takes him like a long time to actually accomplish his dreams. Okay, so he never gave up. So he's a ho'omau guy. The other value is Kanenaau. Okay, so Kanenaau, what does that mean? Like literally, like when you take it word by word? Okay, like surf, but the wavy ocean. Okay, so there's all these currents, all these rough patterns in the ocean that sometimes you can handle, but sometimes you're gonna get pounded and it might be too much for you. So, and especially what they teach in for safety when you have riptides, you don't want to keep fighting because you're just gonna tire out. So sometimes when you get pushed, rather than push back harder, you got to be able to pull. Okay, so that's where all these other gentle arts are, like judo and stuff like that, where you don't got to always overpower the opponent. You can sometimes use their energy against them. Okay, so you got to just move with the waves, move with the currents. Okay, and then also I had this this is a previous PowerPoint, but even some scientific discoveries is sometimes you think something is destroyed and you're like, oh crap, but and other times maybe it's a breakthrough. So like the story of penicillin, where the guy, he left out a petri dish and he came back after I think like a week or something like that, and it was all moldy. And it's like, oh crap, it's ruined. But he noticed something with that, and he took that mistake, I guess, and he turned it into a life-saving medicine. And then lastly, ho'iho. What does this mean? Yeah, return new or return again. Okay, so sometimes when you're going through life and you're like, crap, bro, like this doesn't make sense, or oh man, like I don't know what to do. This is where we gotta ask for our ancestors' guidance. Okay, so you gotta return back to them again, either asking for their guidance or just thinking about them, because ancestral knowledge was developed through trial and error and life and death. Okay, so whatever whoever survived through that, they were the ones that overcame those challenges. So if there's some kind of challenge in your life, just know that the ancestors went through those, especially in situations and environments where they don't have like 7-Elevens, they don't have Targets, all those kind of things. So they had to survive with what they had on the land. So if you are ever in doubt or low spirits, just channel them, return back to them, call upon them, and you'll get inspiration. So Kanenaau, ho'omau, pull, push, less force, more force kind of thing. So there's a balance or a dualism. Okay, so you got to be able to discern when's the correct timing and the right action for that. And that's where we come to ku and hina. Yes, everybody kind of familiar with this Hawaiian concept, dualism and ku and hina. So what is ku and hina? Give me some examples.
Masculine and feminine.
Okay, masculine, feminine. So ku's the masculine, the male side. Hina's the feminine. What else? Okay, right, left. What side is right? Okay, who says right is ku?
Right is ku.
Who says right is hina? Okay, that's okay. No, so yeah, right is the side of ku. Okay, the male side, the ku side, and left is hina. So that's why easy way to remember is when you're doing your salutes or your two stance, ku is gonna be steadfast and strong. Okay, and the hina is the left side is the one that's moving. Okay? So that's another one too. Is ku is oftentimes a sturdy one, and then hina is the kind of fluid, mobile one. Anything else about ku and hina?
Destructive energy versus creative energy.
Yeah, can be, yes. So destructive, like fighting forces, is more ku, and life-giving ones is hina. So it's kind of like this yin and yang, where you have those types of things. And this is just a picture of ohia and a papa. So basically, you'll learn it in one of the next ha'as, or soon to come up. Is like things that are flat, horizontal is hina. Things that are upright are ku. So a lot of times, in some ways it is, but like ohia is laka given to the hula goddess, but another aspect of it is because ohia are upright is actually laka kane. Okay, so the male version of laka that is also a aspect of ku because it goes straight up in the forest. Okay? Strength versus speed is another simple way to do it. Strength is ku, speed and movement is hina, and then like you said, fighting versus healing, ku and hina. Yeah. So we try to keep that in mind in fighting. So if you learn to break it, you must learn also how to fix it. And then another one too was I had a video of Bruce Lee. Okay, anybody know what Bruce Lee was kind of famous for? What fighting technique? What did you just do right now?
I forget what it's called. The 2-inch punch thing?
Yeah, okay. 1 inch or 2 inch punch. And how did he do that? Oh no, he did Wing Chun and he did like his Jeet Kune Do, but how is the 1 inch punch executed? The whole body, okay? But also, so you can throw it like hard and strong, like how those other instructors were doing, and they didn't go too far. But all he did was do that, and send the guy flying. Okay, and part of it was full body mechanics, but also this concept of like you increase power when you relax, and you quickly tense up. Okay, so he's relaxing like hina, being soft, and then right when he wants to attack, boom, then he goes into the ku side. Okay, so we also have that aspect when we fight. So when you're doing your kikaumo ai, you'll build up into it, but when you strike, you don't gotta go like this. But as you get fast, you go boom. Okay, you go fast and then strike. So you get right into the point of contact, and then you can go hard or make that attack. Okay. So that's how we would use ku and hina in Lua. Yeah. So that was a quick one about spirituality and mentality. Anybody got questions about anything? Okay.